Welcome in, my friend, and thanks for spending a few minutes with me talking 49ers because there's a lot to unpack right now, and it starts with some really important news that could quietly shape the future of this offense. Kubiak has officially removed himself from head coaching consideration and decided to stay right here in San Francisco. And honestly, this is much bigger than it might sound at first. According to reports, both the Raiders and the Steelers requested to speak with Kubiak about their openings, and instead of exploring those opportunities, he chose to remain alongside Kyle Shanahan. That tells you everything you need to know about where his head is at. He wants to keep building what's already been started in Santa Clara, and Shanahan clearly feels the same way. In fact, Shanahan has openly said Kubiak is the best person he's had in that offensive coordinator role, and that's saying something when you consider the talent that's come through this building over the years. What really stands out to me is how much trust Shanahan has already placed in him. Think about this for a second. Shanahan did something he'd never done before by letting Kubiak call plays in the season finale against Arizona, and then followed that up by allowing him to handle play calling throughout the preseason. That's not symbolic. That's real responsibility. That's Shanahan giving Kubiak the keys and saying, "I trust your football mind." And from a 49ers perspective, this is massive. Offensive continuity matters in this league, especially when you're trying to stay in the championship window. Every year we see teams get ripped apart by coaching departures. Quarterbacks have to learn new systems, timing gets thrown off, terminology changes, and suddenly you're starting from scratch. The Niners just avoided all of that. Kubiak staying means the offensive philosophy remains intact. It means the relationships he's built with players continue to grow. It means Shanahan doesn't have to reset part of his staff while preparing for another push, and it also tells you something else. People around the league are paying attention. You don't get head coaching interest unless others see real potential. Now let me ask you real quick, yes or no, are you happy Kubiak is staying with the 49ers? And while you're at it, drop a comment and tell me if you think he eventually becomes a head coach somewhere, or if you'd love to see him stay in San Francisco long term. And if you're enjoying this breakdown so far, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on, because we're covering everything happening with this team and we're pushing hard toward that 1,000 subscriber goal. Hitting that subscribe button really does help the channel grow, and don't forget to like the video if you're riding with the red and gold. What's also interesting here is that Kubiak choosing to stay doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's part of a much bigger picture across the NFL, right now with coaching vacancies popping up everywhere and teams scrambling to fill them. The fact that San Francisco gets to keep one of its rising stars while others are losing key pieces is a quiet advantage that could pay off in a big way. And that leads us perfectly into what's happening around the league, how it impacts the 49ers directly, and why this coaching carousel might actually work in San Francisco's favor. Right now, the NFL feels like one giant game of musical chairs, and while teams all over the league are scrambling to fill head coaching and front office vacancies, the 49ers are sitting in a pretty unique position. They're watching the chaos from the outside while holding on to one of their most important offensive minds, and that alone already puts San Francisco ahead of the curve. There are openings everywhere. Teams like the Bills, Browns, Cardinals, and Raiders are still searching, and across the league you've got familiar names constantly being linked to new jobs. Former 49ers coaches, coordinators, and executives are all part of these conversations, which just reinforces something we already know. This organization consistently develops respected football people. One name to keep an eye on is Josh Williams. The 49ers executive and scout has interviewed for the Falcons' general manager job, and if that ends up happening, it wouldn't just be a career milestone for him, it would directly benefit San Francisco. Because of the league's compensatory pick rules, the 49ers would receive 2 additional draft picks if Williams lands that GM role. That's not nothing. That's real capital that could turn into future starters or valuable depth. So while other franchises are losing coaches and executives and getting nothing in return, the Niners could potentially be rewarded for developing their own talent. That's how sustainable organizations operate. And when you zoom out even further, this whole coaching shuffle highlights just how valuable stability really is. Kyle Shanahan is still steering the ship. Kubiak is staying put. The offensive system isn't changing. Players don't have to relearn terminology or adjust to a new philosophy. everything keeps moving forward instead of sideways. Let me throw this one to you. Would you rather have what the 49ers have right now, continuity and familiarity, or would you prefer a full reset with brand new coaches if you were running a team? Drop your answer in the comments because I'm genuinely curious where you land on that. What also can't be ignored is how competitive this NFC landscape has become, especially when you look at the success of division rivals. Sean McVay already has a Super Bowl ring. There's a real possibility that he could add another, and meanwhile, Kyle Shanahan, despite building multiple elite teams and stacking playoff wins, is still chasing his first Lombardi trophy as a head coach. That reality stings. It stings for fans, and you better believe it stings inside. The building, too. Shanahan has racked up 9 playoff victories with the 49ers. He's consistently put together contenders. But championships are the standard in San Francisco, and watching a rival coach lift trophies while you're still grinding for yours creates a different kind of motivation. People around the league know how competitive Shanahan is. They also know he and McVay share a long history, crossing paths early in their careers and rising through the ranks around the same time. So when you see the Rams having success, it's not just another NFC team winning games. It's a direct reminder of how thin the margins are between being great and being remembered forever. And that competitive fire spills over into the fan base too, especially when it comes to rivalries. Because as much as coaching moves matter, nothing gets emotions going quite like Seattle and Los Angeles. So before we shift gears, do me a favor and make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. We're closing in on 1,000 subscribers, and every single one counts. Hit that like button as well if you appreciate these in-depth Niners updates. And coming up next, we're diving straight into one of the most passionate debates among 49ers fans right now, between the Seahawks and the Rams. Who do you really want to see lose more, and why the answer wasn't even close? Because when you talk about the Rams and the Seahawks, you're not just talking about 2 division rivals. You're talking about years of emotion, heartbreak, trash talk, and moments that 49ers fans simply don't forget. A poll went out asking a simple question: which team do you want to see lose more, Seattle or Los Angeles? No neither option, no cop-outs, just take a stand. And more than 5,000 fans responded. The result wasn't just clear, it was overwhelming. By a wide margin, 49ers fans said the Seahawks. That honestly surprised me, not because Seattle finished on top, but because of how decisive it was. Over 2/3 of the voters picked Seattle as the team they dislike more. And when you really think about it, it makes sense. A lot of this goes back to the Harbaugh and Pete Carroll era. Those battles were personal, those games were physical, those playoff matchups left scars. There's history there that still lives in the fan base. Add in the way Seattle celebrated in Levi's Stadium after that Week 18 win, cigars and all, and it only pours gasoline on the fire. Then there's the NFC Championship memories. The Seahawks didn't just beat the 49ers in big moments, they did it in ways that stuck, the kind that linger for years. Now compare that to the Rams. Yes, Sean McVay already has a Super Bowl. Yes, they've had plenty of success. And yes, it hurts knowing a division rival has already climbed that mountain while Kyle Shanahan is still chasing his first ring as a head coach. But Seattle feels different. Seattle feels personal. So let me ask you directly. Type SEA or LR in the comments right now. Which team do you personally want to see lose more? And if you've got a reason, tell me why. I love reading your perspectives because every fan has their own story behind that rivalry. What also makes this interesting is how it connects back to Shanahan. You know, he feels this too. Since taking over as head coach, Shanahan has built multiple championship-caliber teams. He's stacked playoff wins. He's put San Francisco right in the middle of the NFL's elite. But at the end of the day, history remembers. Super Bowls, and when you look across the division and see McVay already holding one trophy with the possibility of another, that creates a different level of urgency. Coaches talk. Assistants talk. People around the league know each other's journeys. Shanahan and McVay came up around the same time, crossed paths early in their careers, and now they're both leading franchises in the same division. That comparison is impossible to ignore. For 49ers fans, it adds another layer to every Rams or Seahawks game. It's not just about standings, it's about pride. It's about legacy, It's about wanting your coach and your team to be the ones setting the standard in the NFC West. And if you're feeling that same competitive energy, go ahead and hit the like button. It really helps the channel, and if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time. We're getting closer to that 1,000 subscriber mark, and I appreciate every single one of you who supports Niners news. Now, as intense as rivalries. Our today's update also comes with a moment of reflection, because we lost someone who played a meaningful role in shaping this franchise, even if his impact isn't always talked about. Coming up next, we're honoring John Brodie, and I want to share a powerful story about how his influence helped lay the groundwork for all 5 of the 49ers' Super Bowl championships. Today's update wouldn't feel complete without taking a moment to remember John Brodie, who passed away at the age of 90. If you're a younger fan, his name might not immediately jump out at you the way some others do, especially since he wasn't part of the Super Bowl teams in the 80s or the championship run in the 1994 season. But his impact on the San Francisco 49ers runs much deeper than wins and losses. John Brodie spent 17 seasons with the 49ers after being selected near the very top of the draft out of Stanford. He made multiple Pro Bowls, won NFL MVP in 1970, and later went on to become a broadcaster and even competed on the senior PGA Tour as a golfer. His football life didn't end when he stopped playing, and in many ways his most important contribution came quietly, behind the scenes. About 25 years ago, Brodie suffered a massive stroke during that unforgettable Monday night game between the Dolphins and Jets. It was touch and go, and it's honestly remarkable that he survived. What makes it even more incredible is that he went on to live another quarter century. By all accounts, reaching 90 years old was something he truly set his mind on, and he made it happen. But here's where the story really connects to the modern 49ers. Years ago, Bill Walsh shared something that completely changes how you view John Brodie's legacy. Before Walsh ever became the legendary head coach who brought 5 Lombardi trophies to San Francisco, he was the head coach at Stanford. And during that time, John Brodie would regularly stop by the football offices just to talk ball. Walsh admitted that he learned the mechanics, footwork, and techniques of the quarterback position directly from Brodie. Think about that for a second. Bill Walsh, the architect of one of the greatest dynasties in NFL history, said he didn't truly understand how to coach quarterbacks until he spent time learning from John Brodie. Those conversations shaped Walsh's entire approach. The knowledge Brodie shared was later passed on to countless quarterbacks in San Francisco. That same understanding became part of the foundation of the West Coast offense, and that foundation eventually led to all 5 of the 49ers Super Bowl championships. So even though John Brodie never lifted a Lombardi trophy himself, his fingerprints are on every single one. That's the part of football history that doesn't always show up on stat sheets. Brodie's playing career ended without a championship, including some heartbreaking playoff losses to the Cowboys in the early 70s. But in an indirect and powerful way, he helped build the future of this franchise. His influence lived on through Bill Walsh, through the quarterbacks Walsh coached, and through the teams that turned San Francisco into a dynasty. That's legacy. Let me ask you this. Did you already know about John Brodie's connection to Bill Walsh, yes or no? And if you have any memories or thoughts about Brodie, take a moment and share them in the comments. I know a lot of longtime fans have stories, and I'd love to read them. And before we wrap up, if you've made it this far, thank you. Make sure you're subscribed to Niners News and help us reach that 1,000 subscriber goal. Hit the like button if you appreciate these deep dives into both current updates and 49ers history. Your support really does mean everything. Now that we've covered Clay Kubiak's decision, the coaching landscape, the Seahawks versus Rams rivalry, and John Brodie's lasting impact on this franchise, let me know how you'd like to move forward.